pull up, pull up, pull up, pull up.
I'm Jason Miller, a full-time professional flight instructor. On the Finer Points channel, you can join me as I bring you tips and tricks that I've learned from 20 years on the flight line. Hello aviators, welcome back to the Finer Points. So once a year, our organization, the Finer Points, takes about 30 pilots out to the canyons of southern Utah on a trip we call Canyons of the Southwest. We just got back from one of the most epic, what we call airplane camp trips that we've ever run. And I'm going to show you in this video some of the coolest parts of it, although there's nothing like joining yourself. So if you're interested in doing that, please visit learnthefinerpoints.com. On these trips, we're not just doing epic canyon flying and flying the Grand Canyon. We start by hosting the group at beautiful Goulding's Lodge in Monument Valley, Utah. We wake up on Friday morning and run lectures where Peter Lert tells us how to have a survivable forced landing, and Howard Donner shows us how to use signal mirrors. We also have a special guest on this trip, Jody Patterson, who's a local pilot and archaeologist, and talks to us about all the various things we can see while we're out there flying around over the weekend.
What I'm trying to do is take the aviation and apply it to archaeology. And in the old world, they call it aerial archaeology, and it's not done much in the US, but I'm working on several projects here in the American Southwest trying to apply those techniques to studying the archaeological record.
I'm sure there's stuff you see that we're never going to see, because as you know, I was looking out the window the day after your talk, looking down, going, if you hadn't shown us those photos the night before, I mean, I could essentially be flying directly over a structure and not even know it.
Yeah, the dinosaur tracks would be extremely hard to find, but they are on a large sandstone exposure just off of the San Juan River, over not too terribly far from Bluff, Utah.
So we do fly the Grand Canyon, and I'll get to that in a moment, but I always tell people that is not what you're going to go home talking about. What you're going to go home talking about is the low altitude flying we do over the Green River. And before I show you some of what we're about to do, you should really use caution if you're doing this. We have Jody, a local pilot, showing us the areas where there are no power lines crossing the canyon. We're not in any areas of national parks. There are plenty of emergency landing sites, and the winds on this particular day were pretty much dead calm. And what that allows us to do is get down in the canyon. I mean, you can see here on the ForeFlight Hazard Advisor that we are just flying pretty much river level through these beautiful canyons, and there's just nothing like this low altitude canyon flying. So we show our pilots how to do that safely with the help of Jody and all of our other amazing staff. So that's really one of my all-time favorite things to do in an airplane. But we definitely also cover the Grand Canyon. And for those of you that don't know, the Grand Canyon is a special flight rules area, a SFRA. And if you're the first step in flying any SFRA, and we cover all this on the trip, is to read Part 93. You can access it right here in ground school. And this covers all of the information in a textual format that you're going to need to know to fly any of the SFRAs in the United States. Some of them are quite complex, like the airspace surrounding Washington, D.C., but others are pretty straightforward, like the Grand Canyon. So the first thing we do is read that text, we brief everybody on what to expect, and then we take a look at the fly chart, because there's nothing like having a graphic depiction. Now, it's pretty straightforward. You're going to see us enter the canyon in this area here near Marble Canyon, and in this area we have to stay above 8,000 feet, so we'll enter there at about 8,500, proceed southwest through the Zuni corridor at 10,500, being very careful to avoid those no-fly zones. and monitor the appropriate frequency. And then we turn back to the north and fly up through the Dragon Corridor. And that's where my student Brendan had one of his, he checked off one of his lifelong bucket list items.
There it is. That's the Tower Rock. Nice. All right, you're on babysitting duties again. I'm sitting.
Final points, Mike. Just entering Fossil Canyon.
There it is. Look at that.
Final points. Mike. Just over the Pariah Wilderness area. We're going to be heading over to Page for refuel.
MU88, Zuni Alpha, Blackwater at 8,000.
That might have been number one on the bucket list, Jason. Sweet. Number one.
Now you can get deep into the canyon. You can land in the Grand Canyon, so to speak, if you stay within 3 nautical miles of Marble Canyon Airport. So we weren't going to finish this trip off without going down and taking a look at what that whole experience is about. You can see here, it's just epic to fly low. Tons of landing sites, beautiful terrain. Brendan has a nice landing here. And then we turn around and fly out. Now, this low altitude flying you've seen us do is we're confident in this, like I said, because we have briefings from Jody, but also because we do so much survival training with Howard throughout the course of the weekend, how to survive an off-airport landing and how to, what Howard calls stay found. So we're on an air-to-air frequency as a group, and this is really what we do on these airplane camp trips, whether we're up in the islands of the Pacific Northwest or in the mountains of California. It's all, learning how to fly in these environments safely with a heavy dose of contingency planning and some measure of survival skills to make sure that we can handle it if the unexpected happens. All right, you guys, that is the review of our Canyons of the Southwest trip. Definitely consider joining us on one of these trips. You can go to learnthefinerpoints.com to sign up. They always sell out, so the faster you put your deposit down, the better your chances are of getting on one of those trips. Also, a huge thanks to the patrons. There's bonus content going to Patreon every single week, and without that support, these videos just wouldn't be possible. Also, a huge thanks to the sponsors. Remember that when you renew your AOPA membership, you should select Pilot Protection Services. Please leave a comment below. Let me know what kind of videos you'd like to see the channel develop. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that little alert bell so that you possibly get notified of uploads. I'm Jason Miller. You guys are the best fans on the internet. Until I see you again, be safe and fly your best.